February 29th, 2024. It's leap day. Um, because that's what we want. We want this year to be just a little bit longer. Um, because we need more time in this year to get Donald Trump into court, apparently. The hot topics on The View today started with uh, the Supreme Court deciding that they will hear arguments about Trump's case that he is, as president, has full immunity about anything that he does as president, which is just bullshit. They're all 100% correct that this is a delay tactic to try to help push that trial past the election. Um, I I want to believe and agree with Sonny that this is part of saying, okay, you're getting your due process. We'll let you have every opportunity. What really pisses me off though is the slow roll that they're gonna do it. Um, they have to rule by the end of June. It could be as early as the beginning of May. Um, and there's no legal and constitutional argument that says they could possibly agree with him. But I have so little faith and trust in this court that it's hard to tell what's going to happen. But I just wish people were reminded at every turn, whenever anyone says that, yes, Trump should be immune because he's president, then the argument should be, well, then can Biden just have him killed and be immune from that and never see any consequences? Because I'm sure their knuckle dragging answers would be, hey, to have some consequences from me. Um, but uh, it's they just don't get it. They don't. There is nothing that says that any president can have full immunity from anything that they do in office, um, and uh, the the whole idea that a president can't be indicted or charged while sitting in office is also not in the Constitution. There is actually nothing written down that says you can't do that. It's just they don't. They haven't. But there hasn't been a need to. That's the thing that drives me crazy. We haven't had a president that's been indicted. Well, because we haven't had a president that's been so blatantly criminal. I'm not going to say there wasn't a criminal. I'm just going to say so blatantly criminal. He was very bad at hiding his transgressions. And for any of them to say that there's no chance that he will go to trial before November is wrong. He's going to trial next month in the New York case about the Stormy Daniels payment. That's a criminal trial. Um, I know that people poo-poo it and like, oh, it's technicality, blah 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 blah. Some small potatoes. It's still a criminal act if convicted, it's the biggest slippery slope of the whole. I hate that expression, but it's the slipperiest one of all of them because I think it's going to be of the outstanding cases against him. It's the hardest to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt. So we'll see um, how that goes. It would be nice to get a prosecution or conviction, at least one under the belt. Um, and the whole threat of him potentially becoming president again, their second hot topic is Mitch McConnell's fault. I agree with Sonny. His legacy is stolen Supreme Court justices, ramming in unqualified radical right court members. Fuck you, Susan Collins. By the way, fuck you. Um, and failing to impeach an obviously guilty president. This all could be avoided, but Mitch McConnell helped create the situation that we're in. He's a Trump apologist. He worked with Trump. He's proud of those things. He's proud to get that Roe v. Wade overturned. He's proud to be part of the most conservative, politically knife wielding pieces of shit. He's proud of that legacy. But he is old. He is failing in his physical health, and he sees what's going on with Trump, and he doesn't want to be involved in a second Trump presidency. He doesn't want to be involved in that butchering of democracy. He likes the butchering of democracy he did enough, um, and to wash away enough of the more norms to make it feel normal that if Trump gets in again, he'll never leave. Um, but he doesn't want the stink of an actual end of democracy, as the end of his tenure. He's a fucking, like, as far as I'm concerned, he's a goddamn traitor. And I hope his retirement is short and painful. Honestly, like I feel um, no empathy or warmth towards that human being. He's I think a despicable human being. And speaking of despicable human beings, um, no Lawrence Fishburne and Whoopi Goldberg. Fine, you can rationalize the psychology of what made Ike Turner the way he was, but you cannot apologize for him being an abuser. He may have been smart enough to pick Tina and put her up front, but abused her horribly and held her captive for years. She eventually, uh, by a miracle of not being killed by him or having her suicide attempt work, um, pulled herself up to far greater international success than I could ever dream of. And But she's never out of his shadow her entire life, um, which is just another prison that she lived in forever because of him. So no, you don't get to wash away Ike's horrific um, actions. Um, and lastly, they talked about gossip, which was an interesting um, topic. I think you have to have some sort of empathy and understanding of other people to know what's your place to say and what's your place to not. What's your story? What's someone else's story to tell versus your um, allowability. What gives you the right to tell someone else's information? And it's very dependent on what the information is, who the person is, and what's going on. I agree with Whoopi. It's like you don't get to tell my news to other people if I haven't told it. If I've told it to you, that's one thing. That's I've told it to you, but that doesn't mean I'm broadcasting it or I want you to broadcast it. Um, so, but there is certain opportunities when it is actually um, beneficial to help someone sort of uh, um, FYI and by the way, so if you know someone is going through something, you don't have to give details, um, but sometimes there's a heads up to people to be like, you know what, you might want to back off on something, or when you know that is what the person wants, when you told the person has said, but doesn't really have the strength to tell other people. And I mean, there's times when you have to sort of help, but for the most part, those other people's stories are not your stories to tell, so don't tell them. Um, and you don't have to give details to anyone. No one needs to know. No one deserves to know something about anyone else's life. And I appreciate that what Whoopi said. It's like, why do you get to say it if I'm not saying it? Don't tell my stories. Um, and the gossip that's just conjecture and lie. I That kind of gossip when you're just sitting there with a friend and you're just could it be this? Could it be that? When you're talking about someone else, when you're not broadcasting someone else's news, but um, you're trying to figure out what's going on because you might not have the guts to ask someone else, or it's too uncomfortable, or you're trying to figure out how you feel about it, or there's something that you're trying to figure out within a relationship where you're talking to other people, trying to understand and wrap your head around it before you approach the person, or if you're going to decide if you're going to approach the person. There is that kind of like what's going on here, which I don't think is gossip. It's because you're not spreading it, you're just trying to figure something out. It's the people who tell other people outside of situations, um, what's going on, or what's going up with somebody else's life. That's just not, that ain't cool. Um, but now it's leap day. Uh, everybody who whinges about losing an hour or gaining an hour when we do daylight saving time, and I would like to just stay on daylight saving time forever, please. Um, Nobody seems to be whinging about it. It's a whole extra day. Throws off my schedule. I can't sleep. um, I didn't sleep because my alarm kept going off because the power went out. And I couldn't figure out how to turn that alarm off. So I got woken up every 2 hours until, in the dark with a flashlight, I just unscrewed the whole thing from the wall and unplugged it. At least I learned something new. I didn't get a lot of sleep, but I got a lesson.